Hello everyone, and a warm welcome to another Lutys Chainsaw Mods. Just drinking a nice cold beer today, just medicinal, you know, just to keep cool. Got to keep cool in this weather and drink plenty, as much as you can. So, I thought I'd do this video on the back of the last one that I've done. I've been doing some porting on this, and I decided to get a timing wheel, which I've got, just to try and make things a bit better, see if I can get the most out of this thing. This chainsaw is a Timber Pro chainsaw. It was sitting over there for ages. You've probably seen it in a few of my videos. It had twisted the crankshaft, and I pulled it all out, pulled the crank out, straightened it, welded it, and turned it into a turbo crank. And it's inside this. Got myself a cylinder kit, non-OEM obviously. It's a Zenoa chainsaw, and I had explained before about the quality of these Zenoa parts. Really, they're not always the best, but if you like messing about with them, then they're great, because you know, it's if you're going to change the port timing and do different modifications to them, then they're ideal, because it doesn't matter, you're not really messing anything up. All you're ever going to do is improve it, because they are quite bad. So this cylinder, I ground it out, ground the bottom of it with this tool that I'd made, and I took as much as I could off to get the squish down as low as possible, which increases the power stroke. Because luckily, because they're made so badly, all the ports are very low on this one anyway. They're not all the same, and this is what I'm trying to explain. They're not all the same, they're all different. This is why I suppose a timing wheel is ideal really, but I've never done it with a timing wheel before. I just normally look at the ports, move the piston up and down, and work things out the way I think is best. But I've got the assistance obviously of this timing wheel now, and I'm putting all the numbers down in my book on the finish, so if this does run well, I'll know that these numbers are good. For those of you that are interested, I can give you these numbers in case you've also got one. And like I say, I don't know what this runs like yet, but I can still give you the numbers if you like. Okay, so blow down is 103 degrees out to top dead center. That's when the piston just cracks open on the exhaust port. 103 degrees. Transfers, they start to open at 127 degrees after top dead center. I mean, blow down at 103, apparently, according to a lot of the race saw builders, that's quite a good number really. I don't know, we'll see. But potentially it's given me earlier builds that I've done were a lot less than that. I don't know what they were because I never had a wheel then, but I know they were a lot less than that, hell of a lot less, because I was used to raise the exhaust port. So it should potentially give me more torque because it's got a long power stroke. So transfers open 127 degrees after top dead center. I'll explain something else about that in a minute. Transfers close at 67 degrees before bottom dead center. And one of my concerns is the intake, which I'll talk about in a minute. intake opens at 70 degrees and intake closes at 77 degrees. Sorry, I did that wrong, that was an earlier one. Intake opens at 65 degrees now, it closes at 77 degrees. Squish is 0.6 of a millimetre. Now what I want to show you, in fact I'll show you this side first. What I want to show you is, okay, now I don't know whether you're going to see this or not, but it goes into blow down. It's, yeah, there. Now transfers open. 1020. Yeah. Okay, transfers open. So looking at that, hopefully you can see inside here, but we will see. So where are we? I'm trying to look at the that's what you can see. Oh, there we are. Okay. Oh, you can see that by the looks. I need to move this back a bit. Bear with me a minute. I'm just going to move you around a little bit. Let's put you there for a minute. Just going to move you around a little bit because you need to see this, to be honest. Okay. That's it. So, where are we? Ah, there you go. So, if you look in there, look, can you see the piston moving at the top? So blow down if you like. I mean, it's not there, but see where it's just cracking open at the top? That's what they call blow down, but that's a bit too much. It would be less than that. But obviously you're not going to see this on the camera. So it's fired. The exhaust starts to open. Right. Now the point is, when do you need the transfers need to open before all the exhaust gases have finished? It can't be under too much pressure, but you're looking at realistic. Ideally, the transfers need to open at the back end of the exhaust gases as they're travelling out, so that there's a slight vacuum, giving what's known as the turbo effect. And the vacuum then, as if the transfers are just open at the right point, the exhaust gases coming out will cause a vacuum and draw in the intake air and fuel up the transfers. That's what everyone aims for, but you can't see that as such. You just have to kind of guess where it's happening. So what I've done, I've just set this to transfers opening 127 degrees out to TDC, so that's 127. Okay, can you see that? At that point there, that's when my transfers are opening now. Now I think that's a good point, because if you had it opening there instead of there, you'd still have too much combustion pressure there. I think there would be better, which is where I set it, because then we should have got rid of the majority of the pressure, and hopefully we should start on the vacuum of the tail gases, which should pull it up the intakes. That's the theory of it, and it is only theory, because measuring something like that, it would be, unless you've got, I don't know, some sort of vacuum tooling that you can put on it. But even then, you're guessing how much vacuum comes out. So I would say I'm probably opening my transfers when the exhaust port's open by about 1/3, if you like. Okay, and according to my numbers, that's at 127 degrees after TDC, that is. So I think I've got that right. I've got it where I think it's right anyway. So hopefully that's helpful to people, because at the end of the day, we all pretty much do this blindly, really. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of guesswork in tuning two-strokes. You know, some stuff like the numbers, this is where these numbers come in good. You know, I've got these numbers written down about this, but I don't know how the saw runs yet. I mean, it might be rubbish, in which case I'd scrap those numbers and start again. But I thought I'd do it. So there's something else I want to talk to you about. And it is this stuff, JB Weld and Rapid Steel. Okay. Which turns out it's as bloody hard as nails, this stuff. It's like a stone. That's it. It's rock hard. It really is. Apparently you can drill it. I haven't tried drilling it, but you can apparently. I wouldn't say it's as hard as steel, to be honest, but it is hard. And the one, the Rapid Steel, that does set really quickly, which is handy for some areas. And the JB Weld High Heat, although it goes up to intermittent heat of 260 degrees or permanent heat of 232 degrees C, which might not be hot enough for exhaust areas, but you know, it's obviously hotter than the Rapid Weld stuff. So the piston in here is this is the old piston, this is. So what I've done with that piston is I've set the squish, so the squish clearance is the gap between the head and the piston at the top. I've set it to 0.6 of a millimetre, which is a bit tighter than I would normally do, but I've done it for a reason. Okay, it is tighter than I'd normally do though. So yes, so what I've done, I've lowered the cylinder by 3 millimeters, which lowers all the ports, right, which is great. Now this is the intake port. Now, having a low intake port is good in one way, because can you see that? It's good in one way because you want to be able to see, normally when this piston's open on these, so the piston's going up, the skirt starts to open at the bottom. Okay, now Now on most Sanoas, the piston is about there, look. Can you see a portion of the skirt still there? Let me move it up and down and see if you can see that. So there's the skirt, look. So the piston on most Sanoas stops there. But because I've lowered the cylinder, right, it goes to the top, it opens the intake fully. Now, so that's good, right? Because I've lowered it. Now because I've lowered it, the piston starts to come down and it's squishing the combustion, the intake gases, the fuel air mix. It's squishing it down as it comes down, right? See it coming down? Now so it's starting to try and pressurise the crankcase there, look. But obviously the pressure's coming back out into the carburettor at that point until it just starts to shut. I hope you can see this, I really do. That might be a bit better. Yeah, I think that might be a bit better actually. Let me just sort this out a little bit. Let's see if I can do this. Come on. I might be able to see that better, actually. That might be a bit better. That's better, isn't it? So the piston's coming down now. And so on the way down, it is pressurising back into the carburettor now until it seals. Which is there, it's starting to seal there, look. Now it's fully pressurising the crankcase, okay? But it's got to pressurise it for long enough to be able to push the fuel air mix up the transfers and on top of the cylinder, right? See the bottom ring there, look. Okay. So, originally, the bottom face down here was lower than this, so it was taking even longer before it sealed. Okay, so instead of sealing there, it had to go down further. Well, that reduces your transfer pressure to send the fuel air mix up. So I thought about this and I thought, well, okay, I've achieved it opening wider, but somehow I need to make it so that it also closes reasonably early. Otherwise I'm losing all that pressure and I'm not going to get the fuel air mix up on top of the piston. So it's a balance between the two. This is why a lot of port builders, they widen their exhaust, their intakes. They just widen them, they don't alter the heights. But on this I've widened it, but because I've dropped it down 3mm, which is a lot, I decided, I wasn't going to do this, but I decided in the end to do it, chicken out like. So in the bottom, sorry about this, I'm trying to get it so you can see everything. So in the bottom here, look, all in the bottom there, that's JB Weld, that is. And what I've done, I've raised the bottom, especially right by the piston there. I've raised the bottom by 1.5mm. So it does close just slightly earlier, retaining that pressure to get the fuel air mix up the top. Okay, and I did give you the numbers earlier in the video, and those are the numbers with it like the way it is now. Okay, so on the back of that, there's one other thing I've done. which you might be interested in doing, I don't know. But there's one other thing that I did to this. So the transfers at either side of the piston, that's why your window's here. So the pressure goes up through the windows, up the transfers on top of the piston. So can you see I've put some scratch marks there, look. See, like boxes. There, there, and there. So the two of the side, that side and that side, is the position roughly, because I'm only trying to explain this, of the transfers. There, I can see it better now. And what I did, I ground a slope here, I've ground a slope here, and I've ground a slope here. Okay. So the slope here does alter the port timing for blowdown. So basically what I've done, I've ground it down, not going too close to the ring, because you've got there's probably maybe 3 mil there before it hits the ring. So I've ground it down by perhaps 1.5 mil, something like that here, or maybe 1 mil actually at the front. The side ones for the transfers I've ground down to roughly 1.5 mil. That's a bit further than the exhaust. So I've got 2 ramps to this side, to this side. So, because originally when I looked inside my, because you can look at these and see what's going on inside the exhaust port, you can see where the transfers open. I don't think I could film that, but you can. So normally, imagine this is your transfer. So normally the transfers probably on this only fully open by about that much either side. So putting a ramp there is basically the same as taking it down a bit further or opening up the transfer without raising the roof. So you're not messing with the timing. So that's what I've done. Put ramping on the piston, there, there and there, mainly so that the transfers, the intake transfers, will open wide enough. Otherwise I don't think they're opening wide enough. Well, they weren't. So that's something that I've not done before, and I think that should make a big difference, to be honest with you, because it's going to really open up the transfers then. Because I was quite surprised when I looked inside to see that they don't open very far at all, but now they do because of the ramping. And this is the reason why I set my squish height to 0.6 of a millimetre, well below a millimetre, because I know I'm going to be losing a bit of pressure, compression pressure, by putting this ramping in, because I'm basically dropping the piston, sections of the piston anyway. But I think at 0.6 mil normal squish, I'm not really going to lose a lot. I think it will still be good, still give it good power. So that's where I am at the moment with this. I'm sorry about all the jiggling about with the camera, but it's difficult to film stuff, you know, when it's on an engine like this. I'm going to start building this back up now. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'm going to enjoy my beer now and start putting this back together. So thanks very much once again for watching Lutys Chainsaw Mods. If you want to ask me a question on something that I might have missed, just do. You know, a lot of my followers normally ping me just to ask some questions in case I haven't explained something properly. I'm willing to do that, that's fine. And if this does run well, I'll obviously, once it's built, I'm going to test it and see what it's like. If I think it's good, I'll run it on my dyno, do some dyno figures. I know what it did before. 4.9 horse. So we'll see if all the changes have made a big difference. Hopefully they will have done. Don't forget, JP Weld or Rapid Set seems to be good stuff. Iron Horse was saying about this stuff. He reckons he's had it on intake transfers. It's where you go through on your grinding, and he's repaired intake transfers before with it, and he's had saws that have run for years with it on, and it is blinking rock hard, this stuff. You know, it is rock hard. So hope you've all enjoyed it. Enjoy the weather. Thank you very much, and bye for now.